Hey man, it's your boy Alex, and welcome back to another bang. Today, we are finishing the Entertainment District arc, where Tengen and the gang continue their fight with Daki and Gyutaro. And this video is about to be straight hands and lack thereof. So if you have not seen the last 4 episodes of this arc, spoiler warnings ahead. And without further ado, it's time to get unhinged. So we start off with Gyutaro still glazing Tengen, talking about you're so strong. I bet you were born with talent. And Tengen was like, first off, I'm a shinobi, and I was not born with talent. Second off, I had 9 siblings, and 7 of them died by the time I turned 15. Like, damn, what could y'all possibly have been doing? Fighting this? Anyways, Gyutaro starts giggling because the poison from his scythes are slowly affecting Tengen. But Tengen smiles back and charges right at him. And they dodge the first attack, but then Tengen kicks Daki off of her brother's shoulders. And now separated, they try to attack Tengen at the same time. But Tengen throws out his explosive beads, which blows Daki's head off and distracts Gyutaro just enough to get into close range. But even though Tengen has a preposterous grip on this weapon, Gyutaro narrowly avoids decapitation. When suddenly, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and the MC himself, Tanjiro Kamado, join the fight. And this is when Tengen lets the rest of the gang know that in order to win, they have to cut their heads off simultaneously. But Gyutaro said it's going to be easier said than done, my boy. And he might not be lying, because between him and his sister, they have killed 22 hashira. 22! Like, who are you feeling like? They must have found them hashira off of Craigslist or something, cause ain't no way. But while they were talking mess, Daki attacks Tengen, but Zenitsu activates his thunder breathing, bounces around the room, and brings Daki to the sky. Mind you, this man is still sleeping, but back in the house, Gyutaro rushes at Tanjiro, and before he got turned into a shish kebab, Tengen moves him back and starts boxing Gyutaro. And while Tanjiro can do nothing but watch, Daki's belts come stabbing down from the roof above. And back on the roof, Zenitsu is finally joined by Inosuke. And while they're taking on Daki's belts up top, Tengen is down below taking on her belts and Gyutaro, who is currently matching Tengen in terms of speed. And when Tengen gets attacked from behind, Tanjiro steps in to save him. And as Tanjiro uses his water breathing to deflect it, Tengen activates sound breathing, 5th form, string performance, as he charges at Gyutaro, pushing him back into the street, but his opponent slashes back. Meanwhile, up top, Zenitsu and Inosuke are dodging belts and blood blades as they try to get closer to Daki. When suddenly, while Tengen and Tanjiro are fighting down below, Hanataro pulls out a kunai launcher and blasts it at Gyutaro, but he blocks them all with his blood demon art. When Tengen dashes in with kunai in his body and cuts off Gyutaro's legs, and with the lace kunai numbing his regeneration, Tanjiro dashes in to take off his head. Before Tanjiro can reach his neck, Gyutaro regenerates his limbs and neutralizes the poison. And with his blood demon art, he forces Tengen to kick Tanjiro back as he activates sound breathing, 4th form, constant resounding slashes, as their attacks deflect off one another, causing a flurry of fireworks. When suddenly, Gyutaro disappears. And as Hanataro warns him about the attacks from behind, Gyutaro appears next to her and grabs her face. And Tengen can't get to her because the belts are blocking his path. But as he deflects them, Tanjiro rushes in as well. But with no stamina, he's running out of options, when he suddenly combines his water and fire breathing to dash in and save Hanataro. But Gyutaro dashes in and attacks him, when suddenly Tengen comes in from behind. And as he's about to take off his head, Inosuke notices from across the street. But Zenitsu quickly tells him to lock in, because Daki's belts are still giving them problems. But back on the other side, Gyutaro blocks both Tengen and Tanjiro's attacks. And as Tengen tries to use his other blade, Gyutaro twists his head around and bites it. And then he activates his blood demon art, so Tengen yeets him off the roof so he doesn't cause any damage. And with no second to breathe, Tanjiro and Hanataro turn to see Inosuke and Zenitsu fitting off Daki's belts. But now with Hanataro hiding, it's not 3v1, as Inosuke takes the lead while Zenitsu and Tanjiro protect him. But Daki is not holding back, but neither are the Demon Slayers, as Inosuke activates Beast Breathing, 8th form, Explosive Rush, as the 3 of them dash headfirst at Daki, combining their breathing techniques to clear the way. And as Inosuke gets right in her face, he attacks with both swords. And as he plants his foot down, he activates 6th Fang, Palisade Bite, as he begins to slice his blades until he cuts off Daki's head. And quickly after, he grabs her head and runs away, so she can't reattach it to her body. But as he's running away, he gets stabbed in the back from Gyutaro. And when Tanjiro turns to see where Tengen is, this man is on the ground with one less hand and a body full of poison. When suddenly Zenitsu calls out to him, and when Tanjiro turns to look, they are being chased down by Daki's belts. So Zenitsu pushes him off the roof, as all of the Demon Slayers have seemingly fallen in battle. So Tanjiro suddenly wakes up from a dream with fire and chaos all around him. And the moment he turns his head, Gyutaro is standing over him. And behind them is Daki, who observes from a nearby roof. Now, if I was Tanjiro in this situation, with 2 demons in front of me and no allies in sight, I would have attempted the good old Reaper Death Seal. And I know it's a different anime, but at this point, I would have let anything fly. But Gyutaro proceeds to blow his hot-ass breath in Tanjiro's face, and that alone would have took me out. Meanwhile, both Inosuke and Zenitsu have been packed up, and Tengen is not doing too well either. But instead of killing Tanjiro, Gyutaro makes fun of him for not being able to protect Nezuko, breaks 2 of his fingers, and then begins to smack him on the head. But he was not done. He proceeds to give Tanjiro the weakest roast session I've ever seen. This man really said, "Answer me, worm, you imbecile, sad sack, coward." Nah, because he really thought he ate with that. And Tanjiro's response to all of this was to grab his sister and run away. And after Gyutaro is done laughing at him, he teleports to him and kicks him into a burning building. And before it could crash down on him, he dodges out the way and continues running. But Gyutaro is not far behind, and with no options left, Tanjiro just starts throwing pebbles and wood chips at him until Gyutaro catches up to him and kicks him in the stomach. But once again, instead of killing him, he gives Tanjiro an ultimatum, telling him that he can either become a demon or he's going to kill him and Nezuko. And Tanjiro's response is to give Gyutaro the headbutt of doom, and when he falls back, he senses that something is wrong, as he turns to see a laced kunai lodged in his leg. And when he looks back up, Tanjiro has used his flame breathing and sliced his head into the ground. And as he begins to slice through his neck, Daki shoots her bands out. But suddenly, Zenitsu bursts out of the rubble and deflects her attacks, as he follows up with thunder breathing, first form, thunderclap and flash, godlike speed, as he blasts at her with a burst of lightning and begins to cut off her head. And with Tanjiro still on Gyutaro's neck, this might be their only chance to succeed. But Gyutaro pulls out the kunai and activates his blood demon art, which eventually repels Tanjiro backwards. And now Gyutaro's gone back on the offensive. But right before he takes out Tanjiro's eye, Tengen bursts out of nowhere and protects him as he swings his sword, sending Gyutaro flying back. But that was just the beginning, because Tengen dashes at Gyutaro, dodging and deflecting every single attack. And Buddy is stressed out, and I would be too, because Tengen bursts through the smoke and continues applying that pressure. But Gyutaro counters back as they swing their blades and clash in the middle. And these boys are going at it. They are clashing blades, bursting through multiple buildings, and still fighting. Look at this peak. They are just screaming and swinging. I know the UFO table animators didn't see their family for months. Mr. Sotozaki, can I please go home? If you don't sit your ass down, you have 8 weeks to animate 3 frames. Get to work. I mean, these two are just causing utter destruction, but it looks damn beautiful. And somehow Tanjiro is still able to keep up as he waits for his moment to take off Gyutaro's head. And when he dashes in, Tengen is getting pieced up, but he tells Tanjiro not to stop as he stabs Gyutaro, giving Tanjiro an opening. But when he dashes in, Gyutaro stabs him through the neck. But that still doesn't stop this man, as he uses his 3 remaining fingers and slashes into his neck. And mid-swing, Tanjiro's mark activates, as he makes it halfway through Gyutaro's neck. Meanwhile, Zenitsu's merely threads away from cutting off Daki's head, and as she attempts attacking with her belts, Inosuke comes out of nowhere, cuts them out the way, and joins Zenitsu in cutting off her head. And as she calls out to her brother, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro all scream simultaneously as they push through their limits and cut off the demons' heads at the same time, as both Gyutaro and Daki's heads fly through the sky and land right next to each other. But the battle is not over, because the poison from Gyutaro's blades is now taking over Tanjiro's body. And as Tengen yells out to him, Gyutaro's body unleashes his blood demon art, sending chaos and destruction throughout the entire area. As Gyutaro's blood demon art scatters throughout the entire area, Nezuko falls from her box, unleashes her blood demon art, and burns it away. And with the battle now over, Tanjiro gets up and sees the destruction that their battle has caused, when suddenly Zenitsu calls out to him. And unfortunately, he is now awake. And Buddy is screaming and wailing and has no memory of what just happened. And even though he's in considerable pain, Inosuke is in even worse shape, as the poison takes over his body and his heartbeat grows fainter and fainter. But fortunately, Nezuko activates her blood demon art and neutralizes the poison. Meanwhile, Hanatsuru is over here tweaking out because Tengen is not doing too good. And Buddy's trying to be nonchalant, trying to give his final words. But she won't stop crying. So in order to shut her up, Makio attempts to put rocks in her mouth. And Tengen over here like, boy, no way, boy. But suddenly, Nezuko pops up out of nowhere and heals him too. And after he's all better, Nezuko and Tanjiro head off to find the demons' heads. And when they eventually find them, we also find a backstory that I quite frankly don't give a damn about. But to sum it up, it went something like this. When Gyutaro and Ume were humans, Ume being Daki's real name, They lived in the Rashomon riverbank, the lowest class in the entertainment district. And not only were they dirt poor, but their mother died of disease, and this was hideous. I mean, talk about a jump scare. But at this point, I see why he became a demon. I mean, Buddy is just minding his business, and they're throwing rocks at him. And on top of that, all he can afford to eat was insects and mice. And the only thing he had to his name was this singular sickle. But once his little sister Ume was born, he finally had something to live for. Until one day she was burned alive at the crisp age of 13. Get it? Crisp? Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But anyways, as Gyutaro is tending to his sister, he gets slashed in the back by the same samurai that Ume stabbed in the eye out of self-defense. But before the samurai can finish him off, Gyutaro cuts him down and walks away with his sister's burnt body. And over time, no one decided to help them, until one day, they were found by the current upper rank 2, Doma, who gave them some of his blood and turned them into demons. And from that moment on, Buddy became a demonic crash out. But after everything that he's done, Gyutaro only regretted one thing, and that was not giving his little sister Ume a better life. So in the afterlife, Gyutaro reunites with his sister and walks in the flames together. We then cut back to present day, where Tengen and his wives are found by Iguru, the serpent hashira, and Buddy started roasting Tengen instantly. He was like, "You did kill an upper rank demon, but it was the lowest one. Also, can you even fight with one hand and one arm? And when are you coming back to work?" And Tengen was like, "Yeah, I'm retiring." Understandable, but Iguru was like, "You can't do that. My brother, what do you expect him to do? He is now an amputee Cyclops. He cannot help you in battle." But Iguru was like, "Nah, bro, you gonna fight until you die." And Tengen was like, "Nah, I'ma just have Tanjiro replace me." And as everyone finally reunites, they embrace one another and stare off into the night sky. Alright, so that ends the Entertainment District arc, and the Infinity Castle arc is right around the corner, and I cannot wait to drop a video on that. But in the meantime, let me know what else y'all want to see down in the comments below. And once again, I appreciate everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. It's your boy Atlas, and I'll catch you next time.
Later, Nicole.